Hello, everybody. First of all, I just want to say to all of my viewers, what a wonderful day. I am glad that you tune in unto WHPR TV 33. I just want to say I appreciate you all, and I thank you for supporting Enlightenment and Trust Society, and also Eastern Michigan. And also, I am glad that I have a wonderful guest, and I say that loosely because also he's my wonderful friend. His name is Al Tesmer. He's a wonderful guy, and I just want to say I'm glad that you are here today.
Glad to be here.
You are
Thank
an
you.
awesome man,
Thank you.
and I call you a beacon of light because so many years you have and tried your best to uplift your people and the youth to have a better thinking, a better way of living, and to realize that living now and have a good mind state is the only thing worth living for. So I just want to thank you on that. Before I go on, I just want to say this. There is a divine oracle that's in the Constitution. And it says, if they can't govern us, or I could say, if they can't conquer us, they cannot govern us. Now the weaker side of government have created a lot of false realities, fears, and divisions that try to subdue and separate the people. But as a people, we must remember that love and endurance remain. We are not society's problem, and we are not society's stress, but we are a self-providence, a self-kingdom that relies on having the joy within and knowing and loving ourselves. And as a people, we must remember that there's only one true government, and that is self-government and the power of a positive consciousness. Thank you. Well, enough said on that note. I
Very
just
well said.
Want to say that, Al, the reason why I invite you onto the show is because you are a man of and an angel of many colors.
Thank you.
Okay, and a man of many honors. Personally, I don't believe that you don't get the credit that you deserve.
Thank you.
You know, I believe that we need more people like you to share knowledge. And as a teacher, you must remember that people want knowledge. Because sometimes as a teachers, we get frustrated because we don't get quick responses.
No, we don't. No,
Okay.
not at all. I agree.
But things happen over the process time. If you know about the earth and the evolution of the earth and the vibrational systems and the microcosm and macrocosms and the balance of the female and masculine principle, it took time for that to come together, to explode into one process, into a beautiful situation. Now we got the sun. Now we got the moon. Now we got animals. Now we got trees. Now we got the evolvement of humanity. So it takes time, and you are a man of patience. And let me stop bragging on you because we're a short time and this and that. And everybody, I want to say my wife is here today, and I just want to say she's an awesome woman, and I thank her for being on my side. She is a wonderful queen. Everybody on Eastern Michigan and all over the world should learn from her because she got Mother Nature. And I'm gonna tell you, love supersedes all knowledge and comfort and stability. So Brenda, my wife, I just want to say I love you. Thank you, and for being awesome, and thank you for a wonderful breakfast this morning. So, thank you.
Good for
she's
you.
a good cook.
Well said.
She's
Well said.
All right. Question number one.
Yeah.
For you, Al. My question, and this is a deep question, man, because matter of fact, this is going to be a powerful question because people need to know that you don't need labels to reach people. So my question is to you: in our conversations, you have said you are not a psychologist who helps people with problems, yet you constantly reference helping your students to think. Is there any difference?
There certainly is, but at the same time, there's a lot of similarity. It's not my lane to be a psychologist, so I certainly wouldn't make that claim. But I do help youngsters think about why they don't learn and why they might want to learn and who they are, and particularly what they're worth. That's huge to teachers. It's huge to anything. I like to turn knowledge into wisdom. To do that, I have to reach the person so that they'll make a commitment to some bigger truths. Consequently, there's a difference between the two, learning and regular problems, that separate a teacher from a psychologist. I acknowledge that. But really there's a great amount of similarity because it's the same thing. We're turning knowledge about the world around us into wisdom. Wisdom we can act on, and act on with fidelity over time. That way, both groups, general society and kids, using this methodology I'm talking about, they develop a high sense of trust from the people around them because everybody understands that they know where they're going and they really ought to pay attention to them. So self-worth comes out of all of this. Yes, they're different, but they're really the same because out of what we're doing, this business of learning, whether it's a child in school, an adult in school, or an adult out in society, they all have to bring that together to a new way. The world is seeing the greatest influx of information ever in its history.
Correct.
Some suggest 5,000 times more information in this year alone than we've developed in the previous 5,000 years. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but I do know that that's not alone. I've heard that estimate before. So in this situation, we have to have people who can incorporate new knowledge and bring it to life so that people around them understand why, understand the trust that goes with it, and as a result, we end up with a faster paced, but still a predictable world, a world where happiness is possible. It's not possible in tumult. It's only possible when we have wise people, people who know how to incorporate knowledge, how to change behavior, and then build the trust that the world needs. So that's what I'm about.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. It make a lot of sense. And as people and young kids need to recognize that learning and thinking on your own, not following the mundane crowd, but thinking on your own is a escape from hurtful illusions. I have a saying that says, don't drink yourself through, but think yourself through. Okay? Because a lot of people want to self-medicate their problems
Yes, they do.
away, but when they wake up with a headache, or more of a headache, the problems are still there.
We have a saying that we use a lot, and we want innovation, not imitation.
Wow.
We want the purpose of life to drive human actions. We don't want somebody else's decisions and your figuring out what those decisions might be to drive your behavior. You have to be yourself. Now, they have to incorporate other people. We have a responsibility to each other to maintain that environment.
Yes.
But at the same time, the actual driver for your behavior should be your own convictions. That's called freedom.
Right. You're very correct. Number two, if you're not offering help to the broader community and only students, which authors have you read that you feel allow you to at least help students to think?
A multitude. We have a detailed study where we talked about that. We talked about what helps classrooms and kids in classrooms survive and do well, prosper, apply information toward new innovations. Um, we know that Stephen Covey, who wrote this, the late Stephen Covey, who wrote this text, The Eighth Habit, is probably one of the leaders in this kind of thinking that we're talking about, and I'll explain more as we move into this. But there are many, many others. De Bono's lateral thinking, Michelangelo's writings, Da Vinci's writing, Colin Powell's writings, Nelson Mandela. All of these people have contributed to what I'm bringing to life, or trying to bring to life in the classrooms that I reach.
Wow.
It's not only authors, but also peoples. I'm bringing students in, and in fact, because you're so kind to me to let me on and to talk about these things, I'm going to bring a couple of students in here to talk to you, because I talk to them all the time. But I talk to leaders, I talk to politicians, I talk to people in other countries, I talk to cosmonauts, astronauts, teachers, just so that I get a real firm grasp on what reality is. So the information really helps students anticipate future problems.
And the most beautiful thing about that is they asked to come to be on the show.
They did. They did.
So that should let the parents know and the old ones know that children really do want knowledge, and they really want a escape from what they are dealing with, and they just need leaders like Al, myself, to not just be friends but be guiders. I mean, it's too many of parents. They just want to be friends and party with them. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong, okay, to be a friend to your children. I think it's needed. That comfort is needed, but we need to also understand that we are here for a common goal to teach our children.
Cause and effect is what you're talking about, and
Yes.
that's really huge. And sometimes that makes it feel like we're not a very good friend, and our kids don't like us a whole lot. But it's amazing how, as they get older and they start to face some of the decisions that we all face as we turn older, they get to be more friendly all of a sudden. They think that parents are worth a lot more, their opinions are. So that's a tough balance for a parent. But a parent has to teach cause and effect. If they expect their child to have the power to control their own thinking, then they're going to have to teach them cause and effect. The world says this, you did this, here's the effect. I'm sorry, I feel bad for you, but somehow or other we got to deal with this. You do, because that's the way life is.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we're about to go into our break time. I just want to say to all of my viewers and friends on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Eastern Michigan, I just want to say I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Go grab a snack and do what you need to do, and enjoy this snippet and Enlightenment and Trust Society and the family of Eastern Michigan with the best professor alive, Al Tesmer. We'll be back with you in just a second. I am a warlock within its righteous form. I am a warlock within its righteous sense, to cause war against all illusions, all forms of prejudice, so our children can breathe the air of Amen Ra. I am the great Prometheus that calls down fire from heaven, and you are the gods of eternity, to free women and children from slavery unto the golden age of reality. This is a new day. This is a new chapter of 322 that will finance our people with true knowledge and not allowing our people to get reduced by the herd and cattle mentality. Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Marcus Allen and Brenda Allen. with Al Tesmer, my spiritual father, good friend, brother, soul friend, and all the above. And once again, I want to show my respect to Eastern Michigan and to everybody in Detroit, Chicago, California, Florida, Atlanta, and the whole universe, and even the foreign things of outer space. Because my aim is to reach the whole globe. Our aim is to exalt our people above all ignorance into a mind of classical measures that will cause a conducive atmosphere so we can breathe the rainbow coveted and of unity. Matter of fact, somebody asked me about that rainbow that I have on my video, and they asked me what does that mean, and I told them the rainbow represents unity without any racial or religious barriers, to allow the people, the youth, to use their own creativity without past traditions and customs that does not pertain to the human soul. So that's what the rainbow means. A covenant of using your own creativity to create a better society, nationally and also internationally, so we can experience peace that humankind do deserve. So, on that note, I thank you for tuning in, and I'm here once again with Al Tesmer, and I want to ask him this important question, and that question is, do you feel your suggestions would help the broader population with problems outside of just learning?
Absolutely. I see this every day. I can't say that I'm grounded in psychology like perhaps a psychologist might be, and I like to stay in my lane, and I don't like to pretend that I'm somebody else, but I have seen kids' lives change. We're dealing with learning. Everybody says, well, what's learning got to do with all these other problems? And the answer is this. We will not learn until we run the information and the situation that we're getting in the learning situation. We will not do any learning until we emotionally identify with that learning. We must also identify with the person delivering the information and the people around us who are listening. In short, learning is first and foremost emotional, and most of the problems that confront us and stymie us in the general population deal first with emotions. So since we're dealing with emotions first and foremost, whether we're learning or whether we're out in the general population trying to solve some problem that we have, it's the same thing. So there is carryover. I had one young man, as I recounted before, who came to me 40 years after I said something, a young linebacker, and I told him some wisdom in practice, and he said, Al, that made a difference. This was at a reunion just a short time ago out in Livonia, Michigan. So it transcends time, it transcends situation, and it certainly transcends the difference between learning and general life.
Yes. Awesome. Now, besides the United States, where have you worked besides with U.S. students?
When we came up with this question, when we discussed what questions to talk about, I put this one down and suggested it, and I appreciate you asking it, because I want people to know that we're working with students all over the globe.
Good.
We're in Africa, we're in Russia, we're in Canada, we'll be in Haiti most likely very soon. We'll go back to Africa again. So we're working with every creed, every color, every gender that we possibly can, so that the information takes care of the family of man, not a particular segment of that population.
Great, great. So, other words, what you saying to the whole wide world that you are a universal.
Absolutely,
man.
absolutely.
Good, good.
Yes.
And we need more people like that, especially in an angry world that we living in right now. You know, everybody walking around with a chip on their shoulder because they so one-sided.
It's really interesting,
No.
the insight. I apologize for interrupting you, but it's really important that I say this. When we march for a cause that's relevant to our gender or our race or whatever, it's one thing to do that. It's a good thing. We need that diversity. We need that appreciation, that empathy that comes from that. But when we march in defiance, we think that we're actually standing above the very problem that we want to approach, but we're really not. It's just a negative approach to the same problem. And it's important that people understand that we have to first and foremost eliminate that negativism, that retaliation kind of response that people give to problems between groups, and we have to get down to the world of living as people. People whose insides, underneath their skin, underneath the organs that are on the external part of the body, and we find there that it's the same thing.
Yes, that's the truth. Like that young man, I was watching this on the news because a young man on the police force, he looked up his family tree, and he was a white guy, Caucasian guy, and wonderful guy. And he had to be smart because anybody that take the time to look up their family tree, that shows he got an interest of being universal. And it's quite awesome that he found that he had African descent
Absolutely is.
in his DNA. And it was kind of crazy because the police officers, his fellow friends, abandoned him just because he had African blood in him. What they should have did is look logic about it and say, you know what? That tells me that everybody is mixed with something.
We are.
We all connected,
Yeah.
one way or another. But guess what they did? They didn't even care that his skin was even white at that time. They threw stones at him. Oh, we don't want nothing to do. And that's how crazy people think. I mean, the man is still white in color, but he had African descent, but they didn't even care about it.
It's interesting
So
you
that
use
just
the
lets
word.
you know that people just bent on hating just to make them feel good. They don't really have a just cause. They just want to do it because they thrive off murdermanship. And we need to get away from just hating one another, just to be hating one another because we hate ourselves.
This process that I'm talking about, it's not magical, but it'll help do that. This business of consciousness, as opposed to those listening to those voices inside of us from out of our past. That's what this process is about. These principles are about.
What are some reasons your students don't want to learn? And how do you help them change that?
They don't like the teacher. They don't like the information. They don't like themselves. Their history is poorly written, and their history is written by somebody else other than them. We've talked about that in prior shows. But you get a script by age 8, and it tells you how you have to survive your environment. And that script moves from a descriptor, where it describes who you are, and instead it becomes a predictor. And you will act out that script for the rest of your life. It's critical that people understand that their reason for not learning things has a lot to do with a script handed down from somebody else. And when they visit consciousness, that gets eradicated.
Yes, very true. Even though I'm not Christian or Islam or Judaic, I believe spirits are beyond limitations, but there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you use your religion the right way to uplift people, that is good. But it was one thing in the Bible, because I read a lot of religions and stuff like that, and principles. And one thing that the great avatar Christ said within that scripture, that what you just said, he said, they hate me because I reproved them of their deeds.
Well
Okay?
said. Well said.
Because people have a hard time accepting real life. They want to live a delusional life. They know it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. They know that they are doing wrong, but they drown it out with drugism. Okay, they drown it out with racism. They drown it out with religious hatred. Oh, you don't believe what I believe, so you're going to hell. That's prejudice. You know? So people come up with all types of false imaginations because all you simply doing and all the great avatars that and messiahs that came to this earth to help us to elevate to a high plateau, all they want to do is to give you reality. And people can't stand reality because they cannot, how to put it, aim at the root or the core of the principle that caused them to be angry in the first place.
Correct.
And it's hard work.
That's
Trust
very
me.
difficult.
Yes,
Very
to go
difficult.
back and say, oh, my mama
Yes.
raped me. Oh, my father beat me, or I don't have a father, a mother. And we don't want to go through that and get healed from that. So what we do is we go to stuff that make us feel good instead of elevating ourselves.
In the coming weeks, on the next show that we do, I understand that we might be able to do one more. I would like to go through how that's true and perhaps give some hope to people around us and let them know that this is not an easy fix. This is not 10 steps to a happy life. It's not that kind of technique. This is about living principles. It's about being free internally first and then applying that same freedoms not only to the situation around you, but giving that same freedom and fighting for it to others also.
Awesome. And I totally believe that, man. We run out of time. Sorry. Time goes by so fast when we have fun.
Yes, it does.
But I heard you say, perhaps one more time. Now, I didn't told this man, everybody. There's no such thing as one more time. This is, you speak a universal message. We gonna ride this boat to the death. Okay? Okay, so I'm gonna have this man on this show to the day that we leave here. But before I leave the scene, I want my wife to come here. You stay right there. This is a family photo. Well, I just want to say, how you doing, baby?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
I just want to give recognition to her. She put a lot of work in the Enlightenment Trust Society. She financed very well, good organizer. And like I was telling everybody from Eastern Michigan and all the women there, y'all need to learn from her. If y'all want a rich life, y'all got to live like women, good women, well, that love to organize and love to nurture and to love to exalt their men. So I just want to give her a quick recognition. And I just want to say I love you.
I
That's
love you
it.
too.
And Al,
You don't have to kiss me.
you want to give your number, just in case?
Yeah, if anybody would like more information about this, we're dealing with it regularly. 313-682-7848. And then we have a website where it'll show what we did in Africa, Sonskyn, sonskyn.org.
Thank you. Well, everybody, I love you. And see you next time. Me and Al Tesmer will be back soon. I'm sorry that we ran out of time, but just watch over this video, meditate over it, and share it with somebody else that's in need. God bless.